What's up, Pastor Nick here. I want to give you some real specific practical helps in fasting. But before I do, I have two things. One, just don't jump into a fast. Our church, we do 21-day fast. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden nobody's going to eat for 21 days. It's important to do research. It's important to read. It's important to ask questions. You can ask questions in the comments below. But don't just jump into a fast because you think it's a good idea and you have no idea what you're doing. And secondly, if you have some kind of eating disorder, don't just jump into a fast. Get accountability, seek spiritual leadership guidance. So maybe somebody that will come alongside of you. Because what can happen is that we can say that we're fasting, but we have, there might be some other issues going on. And so walk those things out very, very carefully. Okay, now I've said this a few times, but let's research as much as we can about fasting and really about anything that we do before the Lord, and let's learn the best way to do it. So there's a couple things online. If you go to thevictoryhouse.org and you hit the resource tab, there's things online like a great let's see, I don't even know who did this. A Diane S. Dew in 1976 did this just great biblical study, Bible study on fasting. It is about 8 pages long. It's wonderful. Also, I strongly recommend 7 Basic Steps to Successful Fasting and Prayer by Dr. Bill Bright. This is basically a personal guide that will help you kind of get your focus for the fast. So we've already said that fasting is abstaining from food, but let's talk about a few different types of fasts in the Bible. We see that fasting is something both in the Old Testament as well as in the New Testament. And we see different kinds of fasts. We see one fast which would be called a complete or an absolute fast. That's without food or water. Now that's a fast that if you would choose to do that, it's usually for very short periods of time. We see that Esther in the Old Testament, the Jews were facing extinction and they needed divine intervention like never before. And so the Jews and Esther went without food and without water for 3 days. This is a rare fast, and if you do that, again, you want to have accountability. You also want to make sure that you're healthy because you can only go about 3 or 4 days without water and then you die. You can go about 40 to 45 days without food. Some of us maybe could go longer. No, but about 40 days. But we still have to be very, very, very careful. But that's called a complete or an absolute fast. And then there's partial fasts. Many fasts are partial fasts. The Daniel fast that I do with our church, that's a partial fast. And you can go online and look up Daniel fast, what to eat, what not to eat. Daniel, he didn't drink wine. He didn't have choice foods. He didn't eat any meat for those 21 days. It wasn't an absolute fast. And so there were specific foods that he ate. And so God might give you a way to tailor your fast when you fast for 21 days. Don't just try to go without food for 21 days. That's something that you have to build up over time. And then there's also a water fast. And a water fast, it's not an absolute fast. It's not just a partial fast, but you have water in your system. You're drinking a lot of water. You're flushing a lot of toxicity out of your system. And again, that's something that you want people to know that you're doing that. You don't want to maintain in a fast your normal physical output. If you're going to the gym and you're doing hard workouts during a fast, you're not going to be successful because your body is not keeping up with the output because there's not a lot of input going in. There's not a lot of protein and energy and things like that. So we have to be careful. So what you have is you have an absolute fast, a partial fast, and then you'll have a water fast. And there's a lot of people that fasted in the Bible. Jesus modeled fasting for us. Daniel modeled fasting. Moses modeled fasting. Paul talks about his frequent fastings. And so we see that there's fasting all over the Bible. Now there's private fasts and there's corporate fast. There was times in the Old Testament, and there was times in the New Testament where either the people of Israel or the church would come together and they would say, we need to fast. And they would hear from God during those fasts corporately. And then also there was just a lifestyle. Jesus said, when you fast, there was a lifestyle of fasting in secret. I like to do both. And quite honestly, I will take any kind of catalyst to fast, any kind of help to fast. So if it's corporately, that's great accountability to get with a couple people or get with your church and you're fasting, because you're more likely on those days where you feel like giving up, you can get encouragement from a friend, or hey, I know that our whole church is fasting. There's encouragement there, and you can keep fasting through. So be careful what you fast. And I would just say that if you're going on a 21-day fast, you're going to want to just monitor exactly what you're eating. Now, there's times where I will just go without meats. Sometimes I'll go without certain foods. Sometimes it's just a water fast. Also, we see fasting in the Bible as a great discipline, but it's not just all the time a week. Sometimes it's just days from sun up to sundown. That's also a common fast. So there's different styles of fasting, different times of fasting, corporate and private fasting. And I would say this, it's not necessarily fasting in itself that earns you anything. I already did a video on that. But it's the discipline of God being first in our life. Now, I've heard some people when they're in a fast, they are just loving life. They are like, I'm seeing angels and I'm floating and signs and wonders and miracles. Personally, I'm not like that. I'm kind of like in the fast and it's been maybe 30 seconds and I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, I'm not going to make it. That's usually how my mind begins to react to a fast. And so just some techniques as you're going through the fast is number one, use the power of ignorance. Meaning, your body might start to be screaming for different things and you say you're really hungry. You just have to ignore it. Hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm not even going to pay mind to my body. Sometimes ignoring helps. Also, going for a walk, getting some fresh air in your lungs, getting out of the environment you're in. If you're in a house and you're the only one fasting and they're making bacon and eggs and steak, and it's probably not the best environment if you're not eating those things. And so what you're going to do is you're going to get out of that environment, go spend some time with the Lord. So you want to be able to navigate those moments of weakness by just maybe filling it up with something else. I don't mean going to watch TV or watching a movie, but I mean with something spiritual. You're going to be able to walk through that time. And I would just say this, what if you fail in the fast? What if you start the fast and there you go, before you know it, you're just eating crazy and you're like, oh, I failed in the fast. Some people would say, make sure you start the fast over. I would kind of maybe guide you a little bit different. And this is all depending. The Lord might tell you to start the fast over. Then you'll have to start the fast over. But if He doesn't have a specific directive to you, I would say, you know what? You wake up the next day. His mercies are new every morning. You say, that wasn't good. I had some snacks last night and I ate the wrong thing. And just continue on in the fast. Don't receive condemnation from the enemy. So if you don't make it all the way through, you know what? You still have a victory because all of the days that you fasted, all the time that you spent with the Lord. And that's not going to be in vain. I would hope it would encourage you to go, I got to do this again, and I want to be successful in doing this. So these are some just really simple points and tips to help you through the fast. If there's anything you want to ask me again specifically, please ask in the comments below. Thank you so much. God bless.